we get to our last game, which is Virginia Tech, Ohio State. If you want to get free plays sent to your cell phone via text from Jim Feist, just go to jimfeist.com. Top right corner, you type in text winner, WINNER, to 313131. You get those free plays right to your cell phone every day. And if you want to sign up for Jim's YouTube page, it's called Sports Betting, and you just subscribe right above us. You see that link? And it's free. You'll get free updates on ProLine and other free pick videos. Okay, let's move on to another Saturday showdown. We got Virginia Tech playing at Ohio State. Number here is roughly around 11. Is that right, Sean, on Ohio State?
11.5 is what I see.
Okay.
Pretty solid. I haven't seen any movement yet on this particular line.
So you and Walters are moving the numbers there?
Yeah. Well, he might. I don't know that I would. I don't know if my opinion's worth that much.
It's Virginia Tech team. It's an ACC Big Ten showdown. Ohio State, certainly a national title contender, although they have that new quarterback. Meanwhile, Frank Beamer, he's had a couple of down years here for the Hokies. Last year, led up injuries on defense. They had an inconsistent wide receiver core. The quarterback situation really struggled with Logan Thomas, but we're seeing some new looks for Virginia Tech. First of all, you get 8 starters back on offense, 5 on defense, but we've got a lot of kids in that offense. They have not been covering numbers, 4-8-1 against the spread. And the big story is my quarterback, Michael Brewer. He was Texas Tech quarterback, and he arrived in May of this year to run the program, and he got the start last week in that win over William and Mary, 34-9. They had 488 yards. Virginia Tech won easily despite 10 penalties for 75 yards. And Brewer was decent, 23 of 31, 251 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 pick, although keep in mind it was only 10-6 at the half, so this offense may have a ways to go. And keep in mind the quarterback situation really was struggling last couple of years for Virginia Tech, so they hope they have found one here. There's 5 offensive line starters back. So, Sean, it looks like some new pieces on this Virginia Tech team. How do you see this matchup?
Yeah, this game is going to be a later game. It goes 5 p.m. on Saturday. It's also an ESPN game, and 5 p.m. is Pacific time, which means on the East Coast it'll be around 8 o'clock. No total on this one either. We'll see it later. Ohio State pretty solid at 11.5. With Virginia Tech head coach Frank Beamer, he's going to be 68 years old in October, and he's in his 28th year here. Plus, I think he went to college back in the 60s here at Virginia Tech. I think his contract runs, another 3 or 4 years, like 2018 or 2019. So he's likely to be here a while unless he wants to step down on his own. And he's kind of like Hoover. Remember Hoover? You couldn't get rid of him. So, but last year, not bad. I mean, you're right. It's been a down thing. They were 8-5 straight up, 4-7-1, however, against the number. And they lost badly to UCLA as a 7-point dog in their bowl game, 42-12. Not good. They're coming off a 34-9 win and cover as a home favorite at 23 versus William and Mary. And like you mentioned, transfer Brewer, who they got from Texas Tech, 2 touchdown passes, 1 pick, 251 yards. The stat that stood out for me was Frank Beamer is a very disciplined coach, as this team committed 10 penalties against a team that's not really that good, William and Mary. So that kind of surprised me. Ohio State coming off a 34-17 cover of Navy. It depends on what you got the line, because once quarterback Miller went down, the line went all the way from 17.5 down to 11.5, and then creeped up all the way to when it closed, I think, Jeff, at around 16.5 or 17. So I'm pretty sure that they get the cover. Navy looked kind of bad, I thought, or disorganized in the first half, but in the second half, they outscored Navy 28-10 to get the cover. Head coach Urban Meyer, there's not a whole lot we don't know about him. He's in his 3rd year, and he started out in this program 24-0 straight up before he lost his last 2 games last year. And in fact, they were on an 0-5 ATS slide the last 5 games of the season, including the Big Ten title game and a 15-point loss to Clemson in a bowl game as a 2-point favorite. This particular game, once again, matches this trend that I put out, where these home favorites are 10 up to 27.5 in the last 4 years. If they scored 66% of their points in their last game against an opponent who scored 75%, which Virginia Tech did, 18-1, 15-4 straight up. So I'm going to take Ohio State minus 11.5. This is actually my best play of the week. And you can find this particular stuff if you're interested on killersports.com. Just look it up. There's all kinds of stuff up there. So Ohio State minus 11.5 will be my best bet for the show.
Okay, Jeff, this Ohio State team, only 4 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. And, everybody's been talking about the new quarterback that was forced in recently. But one thing that people probably don't know is that the defense gave up 22.6 points per game last year, 28th, which is decent, but they did have a lot of trouble late in the season and with passing teams. He gave up 34 to Michigan State and then 40 to Clemson in the bowl. And Urban Meyer didn't sit around. He brought in Chris Ash. He was hired to be a co-coordinator with Luke Fickell on the defense. Larry Johnson Sr. comes from Penn State to coach the defensive line, and this team ranked 83rd in pass efficiency defense. So that's one of the things I like about Myers. He doesn't sit around wasting time. He jumps right on addressing weaknesses. How do you think they have improved for this season?
Yeah, last year the offense was the strong point, and the defense was a question mark. This year is the other way around, even before Braxton Miller got hurt. But as usual, with a school like with a program like Ohio State, somebody gets hurt, and you just plug in somebody else. J.T. Bird had a great game for his first start against Navy, 226 yards, 2 TDs. Navy is not an easy team to play. They racked out 370 yards, rushing yards, and Ohio State managed to pull out a 34-17 victory. That tells you a lot about the strength of this Ohio State team. And the defense overall did a pretty good job. Virginia Tech the last few years, of course, their big problem has been the lack of offense. It's just been they just can't seem to put together an offense that score a lot of points. They have some good things, though. Michael Brewer had a good game. The Texas Tech transfer. He was 23 of 30 on Saturday in that 34-9 win over William & Mary. 2 TDs, 251 yards. Trey Edmonds is still recovering from an ankle injury, I'm not sure what it was, a foot injury, I think. But Shai McKenzie, a true freshman, had 9 carries for 106 yards. That's really good news for the Hokies. They returned 5 offensive linemen. They only returned 5 on defense, just 1 on the line. So this game, Ohio State, this is first year that usually Ohio State loads up on Mid-American Conference teams or some teams from lesser conferences. Hopefully with Urban Meyer now, they're going to start having some stronger non-conference schedules. So this is unusual for the Buckeyes to play a team of this caliber this early in the season. But I like Ohio State in this game, especially after J.T. Bird has the game under his belt and after they were able to survive Navy, and unlike Virginia Tech, which had an FCS team they played against. So I'm going to take Ohio State minus the points this game, John.
Okay, well, I'll make that 2 in a row on that because I have a lot of doubts about Virginia Tech. You know, a year ago in the opener, Virginia Tech was getting no respect at all from odds makers, 21-point underdog to Alabama. Well, guess what? They got destroyed 35-10, didn't cover that number. And then the bowl game, they were a marginal dog to UCLA of 7 points. They got thrashed 42-12. You mentioned their offensive struggles. That is absolutely correct. And look at them against the number the last 3 years. Virginia Tech, 4-7-1 against the spread, 4-8 ATS, 3-9-1 against the spread. I guess it's reputation, but they're certainly not covering numbers. So I will be also backing the Buckeyes on Saturday, and I will make that my best bet. Sean, you got a best bet for everybody?
Yeah, I've already mentioned it. I'm going to stick with Ohio State minus the 11.5 because of this type of approach that I use where teams scoring a certain percentage of points in their previous game. It works pretty good, and even though it's early in the season and it's not current, it is over the last 4 years. So I'm going to go with Ohio State minus the 11.5.
All right, the trend man also likes Ohio State. That would be the trifecta. Jeff, you're on a 75-53-1 college football run going back to last year. Let's get a best bet from you on what you have going on.
I'll make it unanimous. I like Ohio State, too, for my best bet on the show. Also, go to JimFleisch.com. We get baseball, NFL, and college football. And this week, I'm going to have a 3-team college football package, including my underdog game of the month. It's going to be only $39 for all 3 plays. Just go to JimFleisch.com and look for LDSS.
All right, well, Virginia Tech better not win 30-0, or we're going to have to.
We're going to look bad.
We're going to have to hold up the show.
We won't be here.
Oh, you're not going to be, I see. All right, and if you're looking for football plays, Jim Feist has a high roller total eclipser available at jimfeist.com. He also has an early play, a text release on the Thursday game between Green Bay and Seattle. That is also available, as well as a high-end dog pound play for week 1 of the NFL. You can get those plays and more at jimfeist.com. And make sure you get on board with these Vegas pros. And we'll see you next week with another edition of the college football version of Pro Line.